Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's a nice day out there, so I'm looking forward to training. Let me just turn some of my captions off, and we will get started. Okay, so we're going to be talking about conference follow-up, and I'm pretty excited about this. I've talked about it in different trainings from many different angles, but I often find that people go to conferences and they'll walk around, they don't really have a lot of traction, right? And then they come back and they're wondering, it was a great conference, but was it successful? And I like to use those two terms differently because great anything means everybody liked each other. I talk about this a lot with call planning or when you have meetings with people. It was a great meeting. Everybody loved each other. That's not the same as a successful meeting. It's a meeting that moves the sale forward or the relationship forward. And it's kind of the same with conferences, right? If you go to a conference, how are you measuring it? And so today I'm going to be talking about the number one mistake in conference follow-up. And really, it should be pretty straightforward, right? The number one mistake in conference follow-up is no follow-up. People gather tons of cards. My entire career in government contracting, I would go and connect with somebody and they'd have tons of cards. Back in the old days, we'd have these, I don't know what they were called, but basically these kind of rolling things like this, and you would just put a card in. And these guys would have like hundreds of cards in one of those things, and they'd have many of those things, and but no real follow-up, just card gathering. And that's fine, right? That's the start, but you really need to go somewhere else. And so I say the number one mistake in follow-up is not doing follow-up at all. When you're at an event and you're gathering all those business cards, like these examples I said, if you put them into your desk drawer or, like me, for example, it's funny, I got a bunch of business cards right here from a conference I'll talk about in a minute. But business cards fade. The relationships that you could build coming out of that conference, those are what last. Whatever level that relationship is doesn't really matter as much at this point. You're trying to convert a piece of paper, a business card, into a relationship. And then you've got that for 20 years, 30 years, right? 40 years for some people. One of the reasons I really wanted to do this training is because I feel like we invest time and money to go to an event, a vendor outreach session in Washington, D.C., or a conference like I just did last week, or many of you do out there. So we invest this time and money into a conference, but we're not planning for the success, or more importantly, we're not really tracking on the return on investment. And so I wrote that the real return on investment from an event or from a conference, et cetera, that comes after the event. That's when you start turning those leads and the information you got at the conference, you turn it into something. In this case, I'm really focused on just the leads and the people you met, but it could be the same thing for what you heard from folks at a conference. And so that's why I really want to drive into giving you some suggestions on what you can do following up a conference. And by the way, it's not too late. If you happen to attend a conference, let's say it was even 2 months ago, 3 months ago, it doesn't matter. You can take what I'm about to tell you and just follow up. You're later than I would tell you to do it, but you can still follow up. It's like, hey, I know I'm late, but I just want to say it was great meeting you in 2022 at the conference or whatever. That might be a little far back, but you get my point. Don't worry about it if you missed the window. Just start again. People are like, oh yeah, that was a great conference. So if you understand what I want to share with you today, put follow-up rocks in the comment. Let me know you're excited to hear about how to follow up on a conference and really maximize your value from it. I'm going to talk about how to follow up, how to deal with the number one follow-up mistake out there, and how to address that lack of following up or not quite sure how to follow up in 3 different ways today. And you can see them here, hopefully, if you're looking at my screen: a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term win. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about is triaging your leads and understanding the whole idea behind that. The second thing we'll talk about is once you've got kind of these stacks, is how to turn those leads into real connections. It's one thing to get a bunch of cards, meet a bunch of people. Now you need to take the next step. Relationships are a journey. It's not transactional where you go in, you say, hey, I got a new relationship. No, you don't. You got a new connection. You got a new business card. You can even have friendly people, but it's not a relationship. You have to work on the relationship. And then long-term, I want to talk about how you can keep these leads from fading away. So it's like the honeymoon phase, if you will, on a marriage, right? We're really excited. And then we're like, hey, let's get married. And we're really excited about that. And marriage is the best thing ever. And then life comes in, right? The roof leaks, you get kids, whatever it is, right? Life interferes with that honeymoon feeling. Well, that's fine. That's just the evolution of that relationship. And in here, it's the same thing. You have this excitement coming out of meeting people and moving it into an actual relationship. I wanted to actually share this particular two scenarios I thought was really cool, and I just take a liberty to share them right here. Is in about how you meet people, because I was teaching people at this conference I went to last week. This conference I went to, and I was teaching about networking. And I don't know if you know this, but in networking, if you look across the room, you see somebody, you eyeball them. And when I say eyeball, I mean just friendly look. But you see them eye to eye contact, and then you give a little smile. And I was telling people, little smile. Don't go crazy with the smile. You're not trying to scare them, but a little smile. And that smile lets them know, hey, I'm open to chatting with you. If you want to come closer, let's say hi to each other. That breaks the ice between two people at a networking event, a conference. The other tip I gave was like spread out, right? If you got two people like this, spread like that, open up your circle. So now other people know that they can come into your networking circle. Well, the third rule that I do at a networking event is I say the 3-foot rule. And this is a classic salesperson rule that if you're within 3 feet of somebody, you're saying hi and you're talking to them. You don't have to sell them, but you're talking. You're always talking to the people around you. You'd be amazed at people who don't. So anyways, I was coming down in this hotel. Conference I went to was pretty, a decent way away from the hotel. And it was about a half mile, quarter mile, or a half mile, 3/4 mile away. And so I had walked it the first day. And second day, I was coming down this elevator, and this guy in the elevator, we said hi to each other. And as we were going, basically both heading out of the hotel, I'm like, are you going over to that conference? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, hey, can I get a ride? And you got to love this, willingness to give rides to each other or something. But we started talking, right? Well, I have that start of a relationship at an event. And now I'm like, well, how do I follow back up with that person? We had really friendly, ice-breaking banter or discussion, chats, but nothing of depth. But I want to go back. And that's what I'm going to kind of be talking about in that whole idea of moving them forward through that journey. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am founder of Call Plan AI, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner after I got out of the Army. And since 2018, after I sold my last company, I've just been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. That's why I'm doing the training today, so that you have repeatable, predictable results from the events or conferences that you go to. Speaking of networking, which we're basically going to be talking about today, if you haven't connected with me, join the 42,531 other very close friends of mine who are following me on LinkedIn and engage with me on LinkedIn. Connect with me. I share content out constantly that is of value to government contractors. If you're trying to sit there and succeed in the federal marketplace, that's the content I share, right? I'm happy to talk with you if you're outside the federal market, but that's my specialty, right? So I'd love to have you in there. The Government Contracting Success newsletter is my newsletter that I share additional type information. Give you 2 quick examples. A couple of days ago, I shared step-by-step guidance on how to register in a Navy supplier portal. It's kind of a low-key 2-minute process, but I just put those steps into the newsletter, and that just helps people become aware of that. Navy buyers, they have their own portal, and then also become aware or get themselves registered in there. And then the other thing is, like this morning, I just put out a Marine Corps strategic document, and this document is incredible, 27 pages of just really understanding where the Marine Corps is going. So if you're trying to support the Marine Corps, this gives you massive insight in there. And that's what I have on LinkedIn. Okay, one last thing I just wanted to share is that the training that I have tomorrow is about first impressions and how they matter in 2026. I really want to give you guidance out there as we move forward, and how you can get visibility to federal buyers, right? When federal buyers are looking for you, what's their first impression of you before they ever meet with you? They're making first impressions of you. I want to help you really be aware of what they're seeing, how they're looking at you, and then what you can do about it. So register and join me tomorrow for that training. So when you go to a conference, one of the short-term wins you can do is to make sure you triage all the people you met. And triage is a term that comes out of, from my perspective, it comes out of the medical field, the hospitals, when a whole bunch of injured people are coming in, you've got to triage and go, who's the most injured and they need to get in first, and who are the people can wait. And so you can have a really bad broken arm. It's like, you can wait. I know it's the worst thing for you, but this other person who's got a chest wound or something, they have to get in first. And so that idea of triaging, though, can go across everything. If you've got a lot of things on your plate, the responsibilities for today that you have to do, you can triage those tasks that are on your plate. And what? And actually, Stephen Covey taught this a lot in some of his additional material that he was doing. Go learn about Stephen Covey. But he talks about having A, B, and C tasks. A tasks must get done today. B tasks, I'd like to get them done today, but they need to get done as soon as they can. And C tasks can get done whenever you get a chance, right? And so inside of a networking event, when you go to a networking event, you get a ton of business cards like I was talking about, or if you get the attendee list, which is another favorite of mine, when you get these things, you're able to triage all these folks. And so I'll get to that a little bit in a minute. I just did a conference, I was saying, in last week, and it was the U.S. Coast Guard Contracting Summit, and separately, it was a Navy Contracting Summit. So Monday was Coast Guard, Tuesday, Wednesday was the Navy. And inside there was hundreds of people across the 3 days that I met, right? There was a lot of people who were there I didn't get a chance to meet, but who were on the attendee list, and I was able to get that. But inside there, those are all leads. Those are all people who are in the federal market that one way or another I want to meet. And so there could be speakers in there. I mean, there are speakers at these events. There are exhibitors. In this particular case, there was a lot of exhibitors around the outside of the event. And then there are attendees, all the folks who are both government and industry who are attending. And so all of these people are at the event, and you need to prioritize them. You can prioritize them based on how valuable they are to your company's goals and the directions you're trying to go. Right? It's not how important they are, but how valuable they are to where you're trying to go in your goals. And so you just use simple hot, warm, and cold. A hot lead is somebody who's, you met at the event and you're both like, oh yeah, we should get together. In fact, I'm connecting with somebody this afternoon who I met at the event. They were looking to talk to me. And when I met them, I was like, oh my God, I've been looking for you. I just didn't know you were the one I was looking for. And so we had a really good 5-minute, 10-minute chat at the event. And we both locked down in the cards, and we both stayed in touch afterwards and followed up. Well, that's a hot lead because it's going to help them grow their business in the way they want. It's going to help me grow my business in the way I want. And so you need to figure out with all the business cards you have, or all the speaker, exhibitor, and attendee points of contact that you have, where are they in the hot, warm, and cold? And I generally put everybody in cold and begin to elevate them instead of putting them all in hot, right? So an example is that person I just mentioned. That person is in the pile, but I'm like, I instantly threw him to a separate pile. It's like, I am not forgetting about you. And I had a ton of folks there, but if you can see these cards, those are all my hots actually. And so I had so many folks, but these are the ones I'm like, I think there's a place where we can have mutual success. Let's connect. And so that's prioritization. I'll give you a quick example of somebody else I met, Paige, who was at this event. She and I came down to another day, coming down, same kind of situation as the other gentleman. And we were coming down, and Paige and I were talking at the door while I was waiting for my car, because on this day, this is the last day. And so I was checking out of the hotel. I had my car, but she had been Ubering places and walking, and it was really cold that morning. So anyways, we're standing at the door, we're just chit-chatting. I'm like, why don't you just come with me? You don't have to Uber. And so we said, okay. And we kept talking. The thing about this, though, is Paige is in like shipbuilding. She's flying around to different places, doing business development related to shipbuilding out there. I don't do anything with shipbuilding, but Paige is elevated out of cold to warm for me because of who she works with, like the customers she works with. She's at major Navy installations around the country. And even though she's doing shipbuilding, she has built relationships with admirals here and there, or captains. And so she's been in this fairly long time. And so I might be able to build a relationship with her that if I need to get into those particular organizations or commands within the Navy, she might be somebody who'd be willing to help me out. And me, I've got relationships with people that she's actually trying to target. Literally, while I was at the conference, I knew somebody there and I just put them together. That's what we can do in networking. Well, when you start looking at people like that, you can figure out, are you cold, warm, or hot? just in the value I can provide you and the value you can provide me. The next bullet I have in here, the fifth one I think on my slide, is put these contacts into your CRM. For me, if I'm at an event, then I might put everybody into the CRM, because if I use cold, warm, and hot, then having them in the CRM, and CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management Tool. It could be your spreadsheet, it doesn't really matter. But if you have them in there, then the fact that you're labeling them cold, warm, or hot will separate out thousands of people you'll eventually meet and have in your CRM to just going, oh, here's 25 or 50 hot leads or hot relationships. And then last thing I want to suggest here on the short-term wins coming out of the conference that I just attended, or you just attended, right, is you've done this work. And by the way, sorry, back up one second. I actually advise you to do this at the conference. Too many people party at night. They do the whole conference, then they go have the beers and other stuff afterwards. And I don't mind that, but between the conference ending and the beers, go have back to your computer in your hotel room or something and put those people into your CRM. Sort them out. Say, I just met these people. If you don't, there's two things that happen. First off, you're prioritizing partying over working at a conference. And the second thing is you won't remember as much tomorrow, because tomorrow you will be tired, from drinking the beer, but you'll be tired because you're going to these conferences, and you'll be creating a whole new group of people you're meeting the next day. So do this stuff in the afternoon is what I suggest after the conference day. But then send a quick note that just says, hey, it was great to meet you. You want to send that within the first 48 hours. Often you can send that literally at the conference. People sit around on their computers at the conference or their phones. I'm like, hey, as long as you're on it, make sure you're connecting with people and sending them an email saying it was great to meet you, because it's the start of that relationship you want to build. Okay, so the first thing we do is short-term stuff. After a conference, we're trying to follow up. We do short-term wins. And in this particular case, we're triaging and doing quick hellos. The second thing I want you to think about is midterm wins, and just thinking about the evolution of a relationship, short-term wins, midterm, and long-term. So midterm wins, this is where you're turning those leads into connections, right? Into your network out there. So you're trying to convert them from just somebody you met, business cards I have, into my network. And so an example here is I'm looking at this colonel who is from Canada, and he is the liaison between Canada and U.S. defense exercise. He and I met, we had a really good conversation, but he is the guy who opened my eyes to say, all of your small businesses in America are also eligible to compete on defense contracts in Canada. Holy smokes. And so I've already reached out to him, right? I'm converting him into my network. He's another one who sits in my hot pile, right? If I can get his information and share it with you and everybody else, then I open up your world, your market, but still staying in kind of that federal market. But you're converting them to your network. And then one of the specific steps you can take, and this is something you could also do right there in the conference or do it afterwards, is follow them on LinkedIn, right? Get onto LinkedIn. If you're not fully onto LinkedIn, and I know many of you are right here in LinkedIn watching the training, but get onto LinkedIn and reach out and say, and this is the best time to do it, is like at the conference or shortly following the conference, to follow them on LinkedIn or send them a connection request and say, hey, it was great meeting you at the conference. Love to stay in touch. That's all you have to say. Do not sell. Do not tell them what you do. Not at all. At this point, you're just trying to convert them from a lead, a piece of paper, into your part of your network. And when you put it on LinkedIn, now they're part of your social network. And if you post something about your company, they'll be aware of it, right? You'll start being aware of each other's stuff. And then on LinkedIn, you can engage with them, doing early engagement by just giving thumbs up or a meaningful comment to the posts that are in there. So an example is I just put out a Marine Corps post today. And then right after not long after I posted it, Chris Moffitt, right, sticks in my head because she was the first one to comment. She came in and said something about, this training part is great, because she was looking at a section of the document I had shared from the Marine Corps, but she had kind of engaged it. And I went back and was engaging and saying, yeah, I love this part about what they were sharing. Well, that's what we mean by commenting meaningfully or with value when you're engaging in there. But it's a way for you to start really solidifying yourself in their memory. Third bullet here is send a short email. And so you've already done the great to meet you, let's stay in touch. But you can, as you're building this relationship with them in these midterm wins, send them an email of value. So quick example is you could see this article that I just put out, strategic document that just came from the Marine Corps. Well, you could grab that link and send it to them. Say, hey, I know you were talking about the Marine Corps because it was a Navy conference. I know you're talking about supporting the Marine Corps. Here's a strategic document I think you might value. And you could send them the link to my thing, or you could just download the document and go, here it is, send it over. It doesn't matter. That stuff's all public documents. Just send it any way you want. But if you're sending them something that they might value and then you back away, that's really helpful to them and they'll appreciate it. And again, it might go into that introduction, which then leads to the next bullet is schedule an intro call, right? Some of us do it really, really fast out of a conference, but just reach out, schedule a 15-minute intro call. You're trying to further triage these people to go, do they care about what we do? Does it fit in or align with what their company does? And does what their company do align to what we're doing? So a 15-minute call is more than enough. Don't ever go over 15 minutes. If it's worth going over 15 minutes, just schedule another call and give yourself some more time. But only do that, not with everybody, only do this with the ones that make sense. And so for me, it's all these people who are on the hot list. I'm going to do a 15-minute call. I might be on somebody else's hot list. And so they might reach out and say, hey, can we have an intro call? And for the most part, I'll try to connect with them if I can and engage. And the last thing here is get on a regular rhythm, right? We're into this path of developing the relationship. So add recurring monthly touches out there. These are, we call them marketing touches, but in this particular case, it's relationship touches. You're building awareness with them. Again, you're sinking deeper and deeper into the mind through visibility. And so this idea of constantly being in their radar, it's something you want to learn to do as a salesperson. And even if your title is different than salesperson, we're all in sales to a degree here in government contracting. But it's the same thing you might see social media does. If somebody sees you want to buy a washing machine or something and you looked at Sears, all of a sudden Sears is going to be wherever you're at. Well, you kind of want to do that same thing professionally and low key, but you're doing kind of that same thing. You're in the same worlds as the people you're trying to build a relationship with. And that's what I mean by adding recurring monthly touches out there. And these are only for your hot leads. Like I want to stay in touch. One way or another, I'm going to do it. Okay, so that was midterm. Oh, hey, really quick, before I move on to long-term ways to build those relationships, I want to do two things. First, I want to thank Voltron for being our sponsor for the LinkedIn Lives through January. I'm really appreciative of their support in here. We are doing together a Win Theme Masterclass. It's free and it's available to you. I'm going to drop it, or we are going to drop it on, or make it available on Veterans Day. So next Tuesday, November 11th, it's an on-demand masterclass. So it's not like you come in, it's one time. Come in, sign up for it, and you can take it whenever you're ready. But you can see hopefully the link here. It's voltron.ai/masterclass-win-themes. So anyways, come check that out because it's a good chance for you to really understand how win themes are not just a proposal writing tool, but it's a whole sales writing tool. Having a win theme kind of gets everybody on the same page. I'm really excited to be talking about that because this is my first masterclass around win themes, and I've been wanting to share that information. And thanks again to Voltron. Do me a favor, throw thanks into the Voltron. Thanks, Pamela. I see you doing that. Throw a little thank you to Voltron. Let them know we appreciate their support. Okay, so while you're doing that, let's talk about how to keep these relationships from fading, right? These new contacts you got from the conference you went to and we're following up steadily. The whole idea here is you're trying to sustain the relationship that you have identified and then slowly start building through the short and midterm activities or wins that you did. But you're trying to sustain this relationship long-term. Relationships, especially in the federal market, really are going to serve your needs for a long, long time, especially if you're worried about making sure you're taking care of them as well. I put here that relationships take a lot of energy. And the reason I say this is because of two things. One is you can't expect to have a really strong relationship if you're not willing to invest the time in to build that relationship with the other person. It's really no different than any relationship you get into when you think about the romantic side of the relationships or something, except for you don't have the romance in there, but you still have that same effort. I still have to care about the other person and what they're interested in. And then I'm sharing what I'm interested in. And for us in the professional world, it's the same thing related to what we're trying to get done or what we're selling, et cetera. The other reason I said relationships take a lot of energy is I wanted to use it as a way to remind you and for me to remember to tell you that you can't have a ton of strategic relationships. You can have a massive network, right? I said in the beginning, join 42,000 other people who follow me. That is the entry point of my network. My network actually expands out into their network because that's how networking works is your network is mine. If I reach out and say, hey, could you introduce me to Joe over there? You're going to go, yes, generally, right? And so now my network is actually much bigger than the people who are following me. But that's just my network, right? There's no tight relationship, even loose relationship sometimes at that level. The complete opposite level of that is where we're investing a ton of energy into what I like to call strategic relationships. But even if you just leave it at these relationships that you're building out there, you can only sustain so many. So strategic relationships, I say about 16. In other relationships, let's say you're going up to like 50. Anything beyond that, you really are not being fair to the relationships you have. And you got too many people in there. I would say whittle them down so that you have the energy to really invest in 10 or 20 people, right, who are representative of other companies, but invest in the relationship with those people and don't move on past 10 or 20 until you've got such good relationship. I'll give you two quick examples. My friend Matt, my friend Tim, both professional relationships, both really good friends. I've never met them. Right? We've known each other for years. I can call either one of them, ask for a favor, ask for information, ask for an introduction, ask them to come join me, and they know they can do the same with me. We have a very strong relationship. I don't really talk to them much more than once a month. Like Matt, I just reached out. I'm like, hey, I want to make sure I don't forget to reach out and say hi because I think of you. I just don't connect with you. And so once I start having those relationships, well, now I can add a new one because I'm investing more energy in the new relationship and I'm just maintaining the relationship with Tim and Matt. Not that they're less than, they're really important to me. All right, so quick, I'm running out of time. Some quick tips for you on what you can do on the keeping that relationship going and keeping it from fading is make it recurring, right? So the way I said, I reached out to Matt, kind of process oriented, right? I on purpose wanted to reach out with him. That's okay. I'm trying to do the same thing with my relationship with my kids and my wife is to be very strategic about it because as an ad hoc dad or a husband, I kind of suck. But as a guy following a schedule, I'm like, say hi, say something nice. If I follow that schedule, pretty soon I'll be able to do it intuitively. Well, relationships are the same thing. Schedule that relationship maintenance period where once a day, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, you're working on your hot leads. And then if you have time, you're warm and your cold leads. Second thing is use call plan AI. That's my tool, but I talk about call planning in general to when you go in to build relationships, don't go in and just fluff talk about things that are not really focused. Make sure you have a set of things to talk about that are of value to them and to you. And then add them to things that you have. If you have content you can put out there, like I have a newsletter, I encourage you to join my newsletter. We're able to stay in touch. And then another way of engaging this is to pay attention to what they're doing. There's a lot of tools that'll be out there that'll help you track on Tim and Matt and see the wins they have, or hey, they just got promoted. Like LinkedIn told me Matt went from this organization to this organization, new roles. And so I reached out. I'm like, hey, dude, I saw you went there. Let's connect and say hi. I want to hear about it. That way of celebrating their wins and career updates really maintains that relationship so it never fades over 5, 10, 20 years. Okay, so here's what I want you to remember. I got 1 minute left here. First things, at a conference, right? The relationships begin there. They don't end at that event. The second thing I want you to remember is that following up is a competitive advantage. If you take the time to follow up with federal buyers that you meet, with teammates that you meet, with people that may not totally be able to help you today, if you follow up, that's a competitive advantage because one day you're going to have an ask of them. You're going to need something, and that relationship will be there for you to ask, and you will be there for them. The third thing is process plus consistency is going to deliver your success. So focus on that as you go forward. Love to have you check out Call Plan AI. It's my new company over there where I'm aligning what I teach with what I'm building now. But for now, just remember government contracting. It's not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is ending on time. I'm on time. I'm happy. I will see you in the next training.